So hey, how's it going? Hope this video finds you safe and well. And yeah, what am I going over today? Well, if you watch any of my videos, you probably see me using this old DIY type surface grinding attachment. The purest machinist out there would probably say it's not a surface grinder, but whatever it is, this is my build. So the old 2x72 I put together and made, this is my prototype. I made another one off someone else's design and thought I'd tweak it up and make my own little innovations. It's pretty similar to others you see, but a few little changes in that. Got another one over there half finished, just needs a motor, but that's another story for another video. So yeah, what I just want to go over is how I built this. Again, it's probably similar to what other people have done, but a few little changes that I made to suit my own needs. The old magnetic chuck and everything else. So we're just going to go into a sort of a deep dive at the parts and bits and pieces, things that work really good on it and things that didn't work so good. So yeah, let's go. So yeah, first things first, I'm just running a 2" by 8" contact wheel, serrated. You might note too in this video that I go between metric and imperial because yeah, some of the stuff we source from the US, which is imperial, some of the stuff I get from down this part of the world, which is metric, so it's just how we roll. So bear with me and we'll move forward. So yeah, that contact wheel, got it off AliExpress. I'll leave some descriptions, links I mean, in the descriptions if I can find them. So there you go, it's relatively inexpensive to get them there, and I've never had a problem with it. It runs really good. The only thing I might say, it may not have a spacer in the bearings, but yeah, I don't know, I never had an issue. So what I've done, I've got my grinder here. This is a square hollow section, or box section, whatever you want to call it. That's 50 by 5mm wall, where your tooling arms go in. So what I've done is I've spaced it here, just put some spacers in, just to get the centre of the wheels all lined up with the tracking wheel and the motor and everything else. And it's got a 12mm bolt in there with a lock nut on it, a nylock on it, and a hole there just for access. So that was easy enough and done. So that just fits in like a normal tooling arm. There you go, and yeah, no worries at all with that. It's also used that now and again for hollow grinds, but not very often. So there we are. So that fits in the top. Surface grinder naturally will fit in the bottom. As you know, that'll be where the platen goes and the tooling arm goes in there, the rest. So yeah, moving forward, we'll take the other bit apart. We'll have a decent look at that. So right, let's go through it bit by bit. So to connect it to the grinder, naturally we need a, give it a bit of a clean off as we go. We need a tooling arm. So I've taken a bit of the old 40 by 40. Again, you have to give it a, get the mill scale off and do what you have to do with it. So that's what I've taken. So that is going to fit, and I'll show you that in a minute. That'll fit into the grinder. Also what you've noted, I need to have a carriage and everything else. So what I've done, if you look in there, you can see in there, I don't know if you can in the light, but you can see there, inside there, I've got a plug. I've put a piece of square in there which I've threaded, and I've plug welded that in. So what it tends to do, quite often you'll see on other grinders they have a carriage system, a vice thing that sits here that cranks in to give you your adjustment, or I haven't decided not to do that. What I've done is got this piece here with a fine thread on it, and effectively what happens is the other part I made out of the 50 by 50 that I had left over, this here, instead of having the vice thing, oh jeepers, this will fit onto the end of the tooling arm, if you can see that in the video. Oh, it won't fit on, it should fit on. Fits on the tooling arm, and that gives me my adjustment in and out. And we'll talk about that in depth in a minute. So to do that, I've got my threaded piece that goes in there, threads in, and in there I put a pretty heavy duty spring. Spring fits over that, and this piece goes on there, and I machined up a knob with a brass washer at the end. So that's, instead of using the vice thing, that's what I decided to do. And it works pretty good. So I'm happy with that. That's that part of it. Yeah, the only issue there is, of course, this tooling arm has become quite long. It's 600 long, which is getting to the extent of what you should really be putting in there. But it works, so that's good. This gives me around about, that there gives me around about 50 mil of adjustment in it, which is definitely enough when you're using a surface grinder. So that's pretty good, I'm happy with that. So that's the part that goes onto the grinder. That's all good there. One thing I did note, and I'll talk about that in a minute too, is I got a bit of sideways slop on there. So what I've done is I've got a heap of adjustment bolts in here which I've polished up, and that just stops it wobbling and that. You can get these little grub screws, if that'll focus. It's got a little ball bearing in the end, which was what I was going to use, but when I ordered those, I was going to order 8 of them. I ended up getting 2, which is about 80 long or something, I don't know. Ordering stuff at 4 o'clock in the morning when you've been working 60 hours a week, probably not a good idea, but anyway, I got that wrong, so I just used other bolts. So that's that part there. So that's essentially that. So then you're going to need a slider, this hairband, a slider, and I'll put a link to that. It's just, yeah, a sliding device, which you can see which goes up and down. These are adjustable in here. I'm not going to take it apart, but it is. I've added these little Teflon bumpers, so I go from end to end. And I've also taken some 8mm bolts and tapped them into the end and put some tube on there just for handles. And that works pretty good. So that was a simple enough little piece. So that's the slider. So I bought that. I bought the spring, and the rest I made up. That works pretty good. So then I need to connect it to this. I need to connect it to that piece there. So that needs to go to that. So what I've done is made up a bit of 50 by 50 angle iron. The length of all this is, get the tape measure, that there's 300 travel on that. So the angle iron with the slider goes onto this block here. What I've tried to do on this block is just flat bar there, welded onto that 50 by 50. Have a look, put a spacer in there, which in hindsight I probably shouldn't have done, but I did to get the things level. You can see on this 50 by 50 where the bolt holes here are quite tight. So never mind, that's just whatever happened. So what I've tried to do here is make it like a sine bar. So I've put my bolt in there. Just roughly put that on. Give it a go. And this was, the idea of this was to do tapered tangs. So I've got a 12mm bolt there and a 12mm bolt there I've cut off and slotted. That distance there is half of what it is from there to there, so it's in the middle. Theory is that when your slider's on, you can lift it up and do a tapered tang. Very good concept. On the first one I ever built, it worked really good. This one doesn't work at all, and I'll explain that when I put it back on the machine. So that's the one thing that's happened that hasn't worked properly, hasn't worked at all actually, but never mind, it's a good concept. What I should have done is not put this on an angle, I should have put it straight. But anyway, you live and learn, so there we go with that. So hopefully you're understanding what we're up to. So those parts are easy enough, simple construction. That's just, like I said, angle iron, painted it blue because I run out of black paint. Angle iron, shaped up both sides to do what I need to do. So that was good, easy enough. 300, flat bar there, fairly staunch. What you do need to do is just get your gaps right. If I did it again, I'll use bigger angle iron there and work my gaps out a little bit better, but you need to do that on the machine. And this piece here I've just faced off and welded around there, welded that in. So that's the basic crux of that. And from there, you need a magnetic chuck. I have been researching online, and if I do it again, I'll use some angle iron with some switch mags. But I didn't know they existed when I made this. So this is just a piece of aluminium stock. It's just over, it's 405 long millimeters by 2 inches wide, and it's 25 mil in thickness there. And what I've done, I've milled those slots out in it. You could probably use a router, just a hand router. I had access to a mill, so I used it. Then I've taken my magnets, which were 10 by 10, and I've epoxied them in there. Well, I've got drill holes, and I drilled the holes right through just so I get it all sorted. So that's what I've done. I've epoxied that in there. A bit of a trick when you're putting those in, you need to sort of do one at a time, or go that end and then that end, because what they'll do if you go too close, when the glue's setting, the epoxy, they'll jump over. You can see maybe on there how some of them are gone a bit twisted, and they like to get together. So that's what I've done, and once I epoxy the top, then I've just put it on the machine and surfaced it off. So those are the basic components, and that's all there is to it, and that part of it, yeah. So in here on the slider, I've just used the standard stock holes, whatever they were. I think it's metric. One thing I have had to do, even though I've used metric fasteners, is I just have to sand down the top of them a bit, just so they fit in those holes. I didn't want to bore those out, so otherwise it won't fit. There'll be interference there, so you just got to be aware of that sort of thing with the sliders. The slider is a little bit of a cost, but not too much. So all in all, that's all the components put there together. So we'll bang it back together, put it on the machine. Hopefully that's helped. So yeah, another point, what I've done on the back, I've just used the holes in the slider and drilled and tapped that. Like I said before, I drilled them right through, so I get it right. Drilled and tapped those. I think I've just used 6mm fasteners. Oh, jeepers, it's stuck. So as you've just quickly seen, yeah, just bolted onto the carriage. I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts. I just used what was on the carriage. That goes onto there, all good. So now, this angle, we'll bolt that back on. So if you can see it in there, you can see how the angle I haven't used long enough. Next time I'll use 65 by 50. It's poking out the sides. It still works perfectly fine. It's great, but the next future ones I'll just yeah, definitely get that a bit better. And the sliders on there, so that's all good. That's no worries at all. So that's cool. So now I think we'll go to the machine and start assembling that part. So she seems to have gone a bit dark and dingy, but never mind. So what I do like to do is, just when I'm putting my tooling arms in, I'll use a bit of this 808 silicon surface stuff. It's just, I find a little bit better than CRC for this. Yeah, personal preference, but never mind. So tooling arm's going to go in there, get it the right way, or it'll into there, and then I'll screw my little thread piece in here. and that's my track, my adjustment. That's a fine thread. Don't know if you'd need a fine thread, but that is, so there we go. Put the spring in there. It's quite a heavy duty spring. Got it from a local hardware store. Not sure exactly what they're used for, but does the job. And then this part here, this carriage, get it in the camera, fits over there, hopefully. Slides on there, a bit of a trick to line it up sometimes. Yeah, so like I said, that slides onto there. We'll just line that up if we can. There we go. In there on the spring. And the brass washer. Clips onto there. I'll just grab the grub screw and an Allen key and put the knob on. Knob. There we go. Or do we? Wrong Allen key. Let's try again. Let's get it right. Ah, there we go. That's better. I've probably got too much thread on there, but it's just a prototype, as I said, so there. Bear with me, bear with me. So like I said, you've probably seen other designs with a vice type of thing there that I used on my last one I made too, but don't have any footage of that. I made it up. You could buy them. But yeah, so now we've got the adjustment onto the wheel. And all those little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts, adjustable bolts in there. There was sideways movement that way. So I'll do that up. It was sideways, a little bit of sideways movement that way, and that's how I eliminated that. There's probably better ideas for eliminating that and shimming it up, but yeah, I couldn't think of anything at the time, so that's what I've done. Adjust them, and I just adjust them so they're just touching. I've polished off the ends of them so they slide inside there. Again, that's the other reason for the silicone. So that's my adjustment that way, simple as that. So it's just a block in there, a fine screw, and a spring, and that's how that works. So that's all cool. So now we can put our tracking back on if I've got it up the right way. You can see all this in the video. It's better up. Again, this is just where am I? This is just a 12mm bolts. I'll get too far in, but anyway. So yeah, back to this, we'll bang this on here just with 12mm bolts. Goes on the adjustment piece there, put that in here. Easy enough. And do her up, grab my spanners and get that done. What I've done on the bottom, just so it is adjustable, take it a bit further out, thank you. Yep. Hopefully you can see all that. So that's adjustable. What am I looking for? Spanners. Here them is. So all I've done on the bottom is just got a brass wing nut, butterfly nut, which I use off my fly tying vices, and just shaped her up to fit on the end. Works good. Again, I'll explain why this doesn't work too well. The tapered tang sort of sign bar thing. So I'll do this up. That's just tight enough. That's why I've got a nylock on it, so it can move but doesn't bind up yet. So that's pretty good. Is that good enough? Yep, that's cool. Sweet as. I'll do that up. So when it hits down there, hits those two at the bottom, and those two there, and that's exactly where I want it to be. So that's good enough. I'll do that up. And there we have it. Going like that. as you would have seen in the videos. Again, like I'm saying, the issue was a bit of movement that way. But those locating bolts, we'll just have a look at them. So those little locating bolts there, they're adjustable and they stop that sideways movement. They pretty much eliminate it. It's quite a heavy unit once the slider's on, but that goes in and out, works pretty good. I've put some notches in the side here to give me distance, but to be honest, I never use them. It's just a good idea, I thought at the time. You can't see them anyway, but it doesn't matter. So there we are, that's that. So yeah, let's go back to where we were. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's a simple little design. I'll just put my 8-inch wheel back in. You could use a smaller wheel, bigger wheel, whatever you want to do, because there's a little bit of adjustment. Like I said, this tooling arm is getting a little bit excessive, to be fair, but I could redesign things and make it a little different, I guess. But anyway, it is what it is. Does it work? Yes, it does. It works really well. You would see in some of my videos. It's a bit heavy to get in there, like there. So I can adjust that to exactly where I want it to be. And Bob's your uncle, she slides up and down. What I would note is a few things. What I said before, that sideways action was a bit perplexing. I've got most of it out, coming up, rocking back and forwards like that, but I got most of it out with those sliders. Probably, not sliders, those adjustment nuts, bolts. There's probably a better way of doing it, but to be honest, I can't think of what it is at the minute. Someone out there in YouTube land might have a better idea, let me know. One thing I did get wrong, which I won't do again, when I originally built on one of my other grinders, I originally built and made the slider go up and down like this. This one here I put on an angle. Now I don't know if you can see in there, but for some reason the distance between this bolt here and this bolt here seems to be pretty much tangential with that drive wheel, or whatever you call it, contact wheel there. What that means is when I adjust this angle here, all it does, instead of making a tapered tang, all it does is roll this thing around tangential to it. So it just keeps going at flat, same flatness, same everything else. So if I do it again, I will move this bolt here and move that down tangential, get that down there, make it a bit lower, make things a little bit different. It may mean I have to change this here, or I'll go straight up and down, which will make it better. Straight up and down would work because I can get that bolt better and do the tapered tangs. So will I make them on an angle again? No, I won't, because it didn't work for the tapered tang part. There are options, of course. If you want to do a tapered tang, you can get a blade. I'll go get a blade. Like I was trying to say, what you can do if you want to do a tapered tang, put your blade on. Can't quite see that, can you? And just put a bit of sheet metal underneath it, or whatever, and then do double the size on the next size. That's all good. Another issue I did have with these magnets, usually they're pretty good. When it gets a bit hot, they don't hold so well. I was doing a small piece, if you ever look at me making my second pocket knife, just a little wee spring on there which keeps slipping down. So what I did is put a piece of metal under that one there, under there like that, and that just holds it. And that worked pretty good. Oh no. So yeah, that worked pretty good, and it was got the job done. So that's cool. I don't have much else to say on that. So we'll do a little outro and wrap it up. So yeah. So like I said, that's about all I've got to say on that. That's a brief overview of my 2x72 surface grinder attachment and my build. You know, any questions or anything I've overlooked or anything you want to know, just let me know in the comments and I'll endeavour to get back to you as soon as I can. It works really well. The only thing I don't like about it was how this tapered tang thing didn't really work. I'll remedy that in the future though, for sure. No worries at all with that. Apart from that, yeah, really like it. It's a good thing. And if you've ever thought of making a 2x72, give that a go as well. Yeah, you can get reasonably priced designs offline. and away you go. Any attachments that I do see that I like, I try and make them due to the fact that I can't really afford them. This was a fairly low cost alternative. Like I said, pretty much all I bought was that slider. I did buy this aluminium stock. The rest of it I had left over from making other grinders, the box section and so forth, and just put together what I had to make it work, which is what you can do. So on that note, we'll wrap this up. We'll move on to our next project. Not sure what it'll be, but you can look forward to that. Have a look at some of my other videos and you might see me using this. So I hope you're all in good health and having a great day, and yeah, be cool people and enjoy.